It's a third film in a sort of a vague trilogy. It's the first time you worked as co-directors. You usually direct and you usually shoot the film. So this time you changed a little bit your habits. So why did you start to co-direct on this film, and what was the process in working together?
那之前的这3部曲里面，大部分就是您做导演，然后先生是做这个摄影。那为什么这一次在这部片的合作里面是2个来一起做导演？那是怎么样跟之前的一些3部曲里面的拍片的状况或者是动机是不是有点不同？
因为我的第1部电影《鸡蛋和石头》是根据我自己在农村里面有被性骚扰的这个经历改编的，然后拍摄的是跟我自己的这个经历和有很大的关系。然后到笨鸟的时候，第2部笨鸟的时候是跟我的高中的这个回忆有关系。然后到第3部的时候，其实是已经跟我自己的关系变得越来越少，而是对一个女大学生的整个群体的一个观察，所以我们就是越来越那个一起来做这个创作，做导演。
So when I first made the first trilogy, first of the 3, Egg and Stone, it's very much about my own experience growing up in rural area China, and then the sexual harassment that I experienced when I was young. So that is a very, very personal experience and personal film, and therefore I was the director of that. The second film, similarly, The Foolish Bird, it very much reflects my experience when I was in high school, and that is also something that is very close to me personally, and therefore I was the director of that, and then the husband will be the cinematographer. The third one, this one, is very much about not so much of an individual, but as this college-age students or college-age women as a collective, as a group. And I do think that there's not that much of similarity between these people and myself, and therefore I thought that it will be more fitting for both of us to be the directors for this particular film.
还有一个，因为他是我的老公，还有我的孩子的父亲，就是如果我们俩一起做导演的话，有什么争吵，就是都是关于那个导演的分工上面的争吵，不是夫妻的妻子和老公的这个争吵吧？这样比较，这样对我们的家庭生活比较好一点。
So also because he is my husband, also the father of my daughter. So if this were to be in the context of 2 directors, then any type of conflicts or any kind of disagreement we have will be purely based on between 2 directors, rather than something that will be personal and familial. So I think that will be a much better approach to co-direct this film.
老公，你觉得我的这个回答怎么样？
What do you think about my?
我不太可能说不行。
There's no way I can say no to you.
It's you know your place in the process. Also, something that I really admire in the way you worked, it's a lot of documentary approach and a lot of reality and observation in a process that you put in a narrative and the story around the story of Lynn. So can you talk a little bit more about the approach that you've decided to use for your work?
那在这部片里面，透过非常类似纪录片的这样方式，把很多现实把它就是在影片中的表现出来。那你们提到说，当初是怎么想象说用这种类似记录纪实的方式，但是用剧情片，然后有剧情这样的方式把它演练出来。
这次呢，因为我们要拍10个月的时间，是一个大的理由。然后，因为我是一个男的， 从我的角度来说，我没有体验过这个怀孕这个经验，对。然后我也很好奇，这个一般的女性在怀孕的10个月的里面，的周围的事情，包括生活，会影响到本人是什么样子的。然后那这样子的话，如果我自己不可以体验的话，我只能拍真的是10个月去观察这个女性和周围。所以我们其实这个是剧情片，但是呢，我们每次除了故事以外，在周围发生的事情也是会看，然后呢，把这些事情也是放在这个里面。因为这样子的话，这个可以表现通过时间去表现这个女孩子的这个情况吧。所以这个原因
So I do think that it has a lot to do with sort of this lenses of time that I'm trying to capture with this film to document what's going on in the 10-month period for someone to go through the pregnancy and come to full term and give birth to a child. And it took us 10 months to make this film. I'm a male person. I have never had the chance or the possibility to experience pregnancy. And I do think that for me, it is important not only to examine the changes, not only physically, but also psychologically and emotionally during these different phases of pregnancy, but also to examine the greater social context that for someone of this age and being pregnant in this particular society, and those are the things that more of the observational side of it, the context, the background, that is something that I also want to capture through the character. And that's the reason why that you do see that combination of, even though it's a narrative film, but you do see that sense of documentary reality being captured.
那对我来说，因为我是一个女人，然后我已经生过孩子了，所以我知道，就是在女人怀到生孩子的10个月期间，其实是很长的一段时间，然后不会每一天都在想这个孩子的事情，而是想我要怎么把这个10个月的时间怎么度过，然后要去去做不同的事情，对，然后而且要尽量的让自己跟其他的人或者其他的世界要有一个联系吧，对，所以但是呢，我知道很多的那个电影都是讲女性生孩子的那个痛苦啊，或者是生孩子的喜悦，但是我觉得是在10个月这么长的时间里面，很多的时候其实是比较麻木的，或者是比较疲惫一点，所以这次是想通过这样的角度去比较纪实的、比较真实的去呈现一个女性和生育之间的关系。
So I am a female person, and I actually have been through the process of giving birth to a child. So to me, within this 10-month period, it's not just talking about the end result, the pain and joy of giving birth to a child, but the process during this 10-month period, how you can carry this to full term, not only thinking about the child himself or herself, but also think about how you're going to spend these long period of time, which is about 10 months, and also the things that you plan to do or the connection that you want to make with other people while you're pregnant. And those are the things that I think that I want to capture more through these characters, is that what do you do in these 10 months as a female person carrying a child? What kind of connection you have with the greater society, the world that you are part of, and what kind of connections or disconnections that you might have with the people around you. And that is indeed what I'm trying to focus on, rather than the pain and joy, is the numbness and the fatigues and the feeling tired physically, mentally, and that is very much, from my perspective, why there's this sense of documentary reality to it. There's
also, I mean, it's it's a film that's very much set in contemporary China, dealing with youth and contemporary problems, but it's also a very universal thing that's depicted in the film. The story of Lynn totally makes sense in what's happening in the society she's living in, but it's also a story that could totally take place somewhere else. And we relate to Lynn, I think, as male, as female, as young, as older, and the way she's dealing with the internal turmoil and not taking action and trying to move on and trying not to move on. And I really love that aspect, and I think it's what really touches us in the film and pulls us in. So I would like you to discuss a little bit about the fact that you make something that's at the same time so set in a certain culture, but also so global.
那虽然这个片子里面是谈论和记录到很多当代中国的一些状况，然后，但是他觉得这其实是非常普适性的。那虽然说这是有文化上的特殊性，但是呢，一般其他的观众，就算是年纪大、年纪小、男的、女的，或者是在中国或者在其他国家，都会看到有些可以共鸣的地方。所以能不能谈论到说怎么样去想到说，透过这样一个角色，是这么有一个中国色彩、中国当代年轻人的这样一个经验，但是还有这么普适性的一个共鸣的地方。
因为我们拍了10个月，然后我们在这个10个月里面，跟演员还有跟那个父亲和母亲就是住在一起。然后住在这个拍摄的城市里面，然后10个月里面没有拍摄的时候，我们也去观察这个城市正在发生什么，或者是这个周围的人正在经历什么。然后在这个观察里面，我们就会发现有很多是超过我们自己原来剧本里面写下来的东西，正在发生。正在发生，那这个东西就是我们就把这个当下此刻中国正在发生的这些事情，就把它反过来，就是放回到我们的剧本和我们的拍摄里面，对。
So one of the ways to think about how that happened is because we spent 10 months making this film, and during this time, the actors, including the parents, we all lived together for 10 months. And when we are not shooting the film, we also just go around the city to see what is going on in the society and what people are doing at the time. So very much that the here and now, what's happening in the Chinese society in this particular location is something that I didn't even write about in my in my screenplay, but at the same time that I thought that I need to include them into the film. And I think that may be one of the reasons why it has this sense of not only something that is so uniquely Chinese, but at the same time also very, very universal.
还有包括我们找了很多年轻的演员，除了这个主要的角色以外，那我们在跟他们接触的时候，也会发现他们现在对其他人或者对这个世界的看法是比较接近躺平的状态，对，所以对那。原来很多的，一般来说，大家觉得在电影里面需要塑造的是积极的、主动的角色，但是呢，我们在接触这些现实生活里面的真实的人以后，发现这个才是现在的他们的真实的状态和真实的心理。那这个我们觉得我们原来写的这个剧本里面有点无聊，所以我们决定就是还是当下此刻感受到的这个感受，就是改变了对人物的塑造的这个方向。
And in terms of character developments, I think when I wrote the script, I didn't really have real handle on what's going on right now with the young people in this particular generation. And it's not until that I interact with the young actors and the people involved in the film, other than the two, the lead of the film, I start to realize that they have a very unique sense of looking at other people and also looking at the world. Not just China, but also the world. And I do think that from their perspective, from this particular generation, young people, they tend to have this sense of what I call it the line flatism, in a way that almost trying to be, not to sort of go against the grain of trying to resist whatever other people's expectations of what they should do. So I do think that this kind of state of mind and this kind of mentality and this sort of the zeitgeist of this particular generation is very much what I'm trying to capture and somehow have to rewrite my script just so that I can capture this sense of realness for this particular generation. I do think that people tend to think about the generation, they think about them being very active, very proactive, they have agencies, but I do think that that might not be the case for this particular generation, especially right now.
就年轻人不那么容易被骗了。就年轻人不那么容易被骗了。
So a lot of young people in China, like their parents' generation, they are not that gullible. They are very, very savvy and they are very, very pragmatic.
不知道美国的年轻人是什么样子的。
I don't know whether or not the young people here in the United States, whether or not they are like this as well.
I just wanted to ask a final question, and then we can ask the audience to participate. But it's on the main actress who plays Lynn. You worked with her before, and she has a very particular way of acting that seems a little bit not desynchronized, but she moves a little bit differently than the other actor, and it's quite captivating to see. So can you talk a little bit about, you worked with her before, so you're following her, but can you talk about your experience working with her, directing her, and what she inspired you as part of the young people that you just discussed?
那想讨论一下这个女主角，她感觉上在表演上面跟其他的一些演员可能就是比较这么谋合，那甚至有点感觉有自己的一个风格表现的风格。那能不能讨论一下她就是在跟她合作的过程，因为之前也跟她拍过好几部片子，那是怎么样去跟她合作，以什么样方式去导演她？那她是不是对你做导演来说，是不是有另外一种程度的启发？
要不要那个？因为我们的剧组特别小，然后呢，就是除了我和他以外，就是大总和另外一个男性的录音师。要不要你从男性的角度看一下我这个女导演和女主演怎么沟通的？
So we have a very small crew. So other than the both of us and the female lead, we have the sound guy that we have worked together throughout the film. So I do think that maybe we will start with your perspective as a male director interacting with this particular female lead.
Female 我觉得因为我在现场的时候，其实我们的分工的方式是，他跟演员沟通，我负责声音和摄影。所以其实我在他们两个人的沟通当中，我不会参与，所以我只能在他在机器的前面的时候，我会观察他。现在他是我不知道他在表演还是他表演这个角色还是自己，我不知道。然后呢，所以我会通过机器观察他。所以但是呢，我确实是观察他的时候，会感受到一种气氛吧，气氛，他的气氛，然后呢，这个气氛呢是不一定跟那个故事有关系的，但是呢我会拍下来，但是不知道怎么剪辑，但是这个是对他来说比较，我的意思，这个是他的表演，所以呢，所以我拍很多的片段，然后呢片段剪起来了以后。 有一种他的一种情绪的节奏，对对对。所以每次我跟他导演或者跟他合作的时候，每一个阶段有新的发现，这种感觉吧。
So when we're on site as co-directors, the divisional labors between the two of us as co-directors is that she will be in charge of communicating with the actors, and for me, I'm in charge of the sound and also the cinematography. So for me, even though that I observe the process of the communications and all that, but during the shooting and when we are on site, for me, it's most of the time, I just an observer to observe how she either portray the characters in the script or that she is just acting out as herself in real life. And sometimes I don't know which is which to me not necessarily a bad thing, because I do want to have that kind of observational way of keeping the distance and just documenting as many takes as I can, and then I will then think about how am I going to edit this in post-production. And I do think that because of the fact that I do see that there's a very unique aura and vibe whenever she is on camera, and I really want to somehow capture that kind of non-plot related spirit and also atmospheres and that kind of, the best way I can say is the aura and the vibe that's just so unique of her own. And then when I do edit them together, somehow I will see the unique rhythm of her performance, and that is actually something quite astonishing.
那对我来讲的话，可能有的时候就还蛮痛苦的，就是因为其实我和他的节奏挺不一样的。可以先翻译这个。
So to me, it's actually quite a painful process, just because my rhythm as a as a writer and also as a director is so different from her performance in terms of the rhythm.
不同的地方是在于，在同一个事情的话，我跟他的反应的速度，还有反应的方法，还有决定，还有处理的方法是不一样的。
So for whatever situations that I put her in, the way I think about how you should react, and how in terms of the treatment of that particular scene, is very different from how she react to that situation and how fast she react to that situation and the treatment that she will bring to that particular situation.
但是我在跟他拍摄的过程当中，我有学习到一个很重要的事情，就是我自己的按照我的反应的方法、速度去写这个人物的话，其实是很多电影里面很常用的，已经出现过的很多的女性会有的那种女性。
So I do think that this painful process really teach me in such a way to realize that if she were to treat or act or perform the way I expect her to react, to treat that particular scene, I do think that this would be a performance that has been seen so many times in the past of a female character on screen, and it's so generic, and that is there's nothing unique about it. So this is something I learned from just
因为我读了很多的书，然后看了很多的电影，其实这些都在改变和塑造，并且影响我，变成那些书和那些电影里面的类似的女性。
So because I'm informed by many of the books and the films that I have seen to think about building a character, developing a female character, and I do think that have a huge impact on how I see what a female character should act and behave in those situations.
但是红贵这个就我们的这个演员吧，他是不那么喜欢看书，也比较少看电影，所以她不是一个知识女性，她是一个比较每天感受自己的现在的这个生活状态的一个女性。
And for our lead female character, she doesn't really read that much or watch that many films. So I guess in a way that she wasn't that pigeonholed by how sort of the generic template of a female character should behave and react. So to me, it's very much that she just acts the way that she thinks how she or the character would react or will act for that particular scene.
所以如果我期待她按照我最开始想的那个表演去表演的话，其实那个东西是没有什么有意思的。
So if I just have her performing the exact same way that I imagine what a female character of this particular situation will behave and react, then it won't be anything interesting.
而且也比较虚幻。
And it's also something that is out of imagination or some kind of preconceived notion rather than rooted in reality.
所以我跟他学习到还是创作者在创作的时候一定要看当下此刻现在你的对面是什么。
So to me, I really learned about as a creator of a film or any type of artistic expressions, you really need to capture what is going on here and now, and then have that kind of ability to reflect.
这个不是绝对的真实，但是肯定是已经是得到一个真实。
Even though that it might be the absolute reality that you capture, but I think it's closer to the reality.
当然，我还是很痛苦的过程。
But still, it's a painful process.
Do we have time for audience question? Okay. Yes. So there's a microphone. Raise your hand. There's a bright light, so it's hard to see. There's a question here.
他也是从中过来的，很喜欢这部片，尤其是这些有点类似纪录片的这样的方式去拍摄，那也用了很多的非专业的演员，那他们都是用很自然的方式把它呈现出来。那能不能讨论一下或者讲述一下这个跟他们合作的状况是什么样子的？怎么可以让他们这些非专业演员表现得这么自然？那另外一方面就是说，他们在拍摄这些镜头的时候，因为大部分都是长镜头。那是不是每次拍摄的时候，他们都可以这些非专业演员可以拍好几个就是好几个镜头，然后再从那边选出一个最好的、最适合的。
我先说，首先就是我会在整个城市都去找自己感兴趣的人，就自己喜欢的人，对，然后呢，我找到他们以后。会问他们自己的生活经历是什么，这个是第一个。然后第二个是我会跟他们讲我们的这个故事是这个跟他有关的这个情节是什么。第三个就是让他我会问他，如果他遇到这样的事情的话，他会怎么反应？对。
So the process is that I actually go around the city and just look for people that I find interesting. And these people, for sure, that I will ask them the first question, many questions that I ask them is very much about their life experience. And I want to know them. And then I will share with them the scripts and also the plot lines and all the scenarios that they will be in, or if they join us, the scenarios. And then I will want them to tell me how would they react to that particular situation. So it's almost as if I am looking for the people who can naturally react the way that I have written down in their script so that they will appear to be very, very natural.
对，然后对，
然后呢，我们大概拍2条吧，对吧？一两条，
每一个场景
每个场景
拍2条。
So for each long take, we probably have either 1 or 2 takes for that particular scene.
这个也是刚才这个黄基说，他跟演员沟通了以后，比如说我不知道他们会表演多长时间，对，但是呢我会一直开机，然后呢，而且他们不说话完了以后也一直开机，对，所以这种方式吧，所以我们不会去改变他们之间的节奏，
So for the actors, as I mentioned before, the division of labor between us is that she will be communicating with the actors. So for me, as a cinematographer, is that the camera is always rolling, and I have no idea how long or how short their quote-unquote performance will be. So I just keep the camera rolling and capture however the tempo, however the ways or the treatments they want to bring to that particular scene.
然后呢，一个例子吧，这个里面在车上，一个男的和妈妈和林森，他在聊天，关于这个孩子给他这个怎么办，对吧？然后呢，那个老板说，可不可以把这个孩子照顾他1年？就是这个想法是这个 boss 他自己想出来的。
So for example, that particular scene in the car when Lynn and the mother and also the boss from the kindergarten, they're discussing how they're going to deal with the newborn baby. And then at one point, the boss said that, how about you just take this baby back and take care of the baby for a year? That particular line wasn't written in the script. It's something of the invention of this particular actors then sort of improvise for that particular scene.
We'll take one final question because otherwise the cinema will close. So many people. Okay, like someone close to you. Go. Yes.
唯一一个计划是因为我们要表现10个月，而且通过一个视角，一个固定的视角，所以呢，这个是从开始我决定把摄影机和这个演员的距离要保持，不要太靠近，不要太远，一直在同一个距离去看他，这个是唯一一个我们决定的。然后通过一个50毫米的镜头去观察他，对，所以然后这个机位的话，反正是已经是镜头和距离是搞定了，所以只是他们表演的时候，我去找比较合适的地方去拍，对。
So in the beginning of the production, we already had this mutual agreement that this is going to be a film that will take 10 months to make, 10 to shoot, and we only want to have one static perspective and camera to capture what we are observing during those 10 months, and we want to also keep a distance. So those are the things that are already set up right from the beginning. And then we decided to use the 50mm camera, and frame by frame, all I have to do is to think about where will be the best place to set up the camera in such a way that I can then fulfill all those things that we have agreed upon in the beginning of the shooting.
Thank you so much. I wish we had more time to discuss, but it's getting late. You're coming back tomorrow for a second screening, so if you want to ask more questions, you will be back.
Thank you. 谢谢你们。